Hello, everybody, and welcome to ProgressCast. And on this episode, I will be talking to a long-time friend. Hey, Shen.
Hey, Pat.
How's it going, man?
It's going good.
We
I'm not
have
that.
we have been friends for a long time, back to an animation community, and after animation kind of died off, we went to, well, before it really died off, we just did RP stuff, roleplay characters, writing stories. Yeah, it was 5 or 6 years ago when we started. 2 years ago, group kind of broke off. Everyone did their own thing, but yeah, it was fun. So we're here to talk about RP sites, RP's future, RP history compared to now, and all of that, because Shen, even after my friend Kizu and I stopped kind of doing it, Shen was on RP sites and trying everything and basically seeing how the world's changed or not changed with all this stuff. So what was the first RP site you went to after WRHD was dead?
That would be, it was an AU Ruby forum it was called Lasting Memories. It's defunct now. Nobody goes on it. I don't remember how I found it. I think I just kind of found it on my own. And I spent like a whole week just reading up on the lore and figuring out how a character would work in that world. It was fun. It was interesting. It was weird working with a world that wasn't mine, but it was cool.
All right. How were the admins on that site? Because here's the thing about RP sites, is that they're started up by someone or a group of people, and what happens is that most of the fun is actually doing the RPs. But when you get to a bunch of people and learn how some balance playing in the RP and actually managing the site and dealing with the little kids or older people who either don't know what they're doing or want to fuck shit up, it leads to whether or not the mods were good or bad to begin with. You can't talk about an RP site without talking about some really shit admins. How were the admins on that site?
Most of them were pretty okay. I didn't talk to a lot of them because, well, they were never on. But the ones that I did talk to were usually pretty nice. They were real laid back. Some of them were actually younger than me. It was kind of weird.
Was there any pattern of admins and mods, whether or not the younger ones or the teenage ones or the adult ones, were any pattern of being better or worse? I wonder if the maturity would help, or if the having shit to do in your life by being a college student would cancel each other out, or one topple over the other.
It was kind of like that. I noticed that the younger admins were more involved. Like, they were on a lot more, a lot longer, but they were also hesitant to step in when problems arose. And so the older admins usually handled problems.
So what was the first time you actually met, like, a legendarily tyrantive admin or mod? Or just a player?
Oh, no, it was a mod. Actually, it was an admin. It was, it must have been like 2 months ago now. I joined this independent site called Timetables, and I was on there for like not even a week, and I had a falling out with one of the admins about how he was running the site and how he was treating the players. And, well, his whole deal was that he should be allowed to step in at any time on any thread and just do whatever he wanted with the characters, and I didn't think that was right. So I confronted him about it, and he promptly banned me. So that was a fun experience. I think the site's down now, which is the best part.
I think
Okay.
if you haven't been banned, like most people have been. I don't know if most people have been banned for something. Most people who have been in communities on and off for 5 years at least have been banned at least from one of them, even if it was temporary ban. But getting banned it's quite a feeling.
Yeah, it's a trip, man.
Because a lot of the times, even if it is your fault, at the exact moment, it's not very often that you feel very disappointed of yourself when you're banned. You're usually kind of ticked.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be a freeing experience because you're like, I don't have to deal with that anymore. But if you have friends on the site, then it's like, you can't help them anymore directly.
Oh, my friends left with me.
Yeah, that's the best part.
That was awesome.
And now you have a project that you're doing with them.
Yeah. Well, that's a different group of friends.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are stories of some of the best admins and moderators? Some of the most involved, some of the most friendly, and...
That's actually the site that I'm on right now. Well, one of the sites I'm on right now. It's another independent site called Unplugged. I'm not gonna go into the lore or anything right now because, I'll ask you to put a link in at the end or whatever. But the admins are actually pretty cool. Like, there's usually, like, at any given time, there's at least 3 of them online, and I've already seen all of them at least once online. And it's really interesting because at any time you can go into the chat box, you can ask a question, you can get help any time of day. They're really nice, they're really laid back. A lot of them know how it works. They've been doing this for years. They understand like how things should be run. Everything is very comfortable without getting too boring. It's been a really enjoyable experience working with them. Someone just messaged me.
That was me. Just ignore that for a second. I was trying to enter and I forgot to press shift.
Centauri, Yulia, Nevermore, Kakome, Astaroth, Nexus, Zika, Taman, Naboa. Okay, I like these names.
Your names are awesome, man. So
they're all like 5 letters.
Yeah, you kind of have that thing. Was CIERA? Yep, 5 letters. Anyway, ARCOS. Fuck. AUR. Fuck. You really do have all 5-letter names.
Well, some of them are different now.
Yeah,
like,
Meredith and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's you mean different spellings of old names?
No, like the new characters' names are longer. And I actually gave most of the characters that I give them full names, like real names and surnames and everything. Like,
yeah, I remember when I first made Caitlyn. It was around the time where I was thinking about writing the thing as a book instead, because our RP channels kind of died down for a month. So I actually gave Caitlyn a last name, which made her name sound really cool. I just really like the name Theron. Caitlyn Theron. I don't know why. I just love it.
The favorite surname that I have is the surname that I gave to Nia and Garrett. I actually made their culture based on Italy, and so Nia's real name was Marina, and Garrett's real name was Gregario, and I gave them the last name Antonelli.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk about characters on the RP sites and everything.
Fun, yeah.
What kind of trends, both good and bad, have you seen with newer members and older members on sites? Like, what are some cliches?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, there's always the cliche of the silent badass loner. That's always a fun cliche. Like, some people do it way better than others, but it's a common trope. And
do people do it satirically any times?
It doesn't feel like they do, no. It,
More
what
like
you got?
someone who started doing it because they were young and were the cliche, but just grew an attachment to it.
Yeah, well, the thing you have to realize is there are people that are like, I've seen people as old as 27 and as young as 11 on these sites. So there are
God,
veterans and newbies alike.
do you remember that animator on Stick Page with the umbrella, the pink one, the girl, Laladale?
Not
She
really.
was 11 and she was fucking badass. She was like, there were some amazing Filipino 11-year-old animators on that site.
Yeah.
And then there was Zero.
Yeah. God, I remember Zero.
Yeah. Fucking.
He was a mod for a while. Do you know that?
I remember that, dude. He was a mod.
That was after I left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kizu.
Thank God I
Kizu
did.
went back to Stick Page under the alias
Dehydrox.
Dehydrox, yeah. And that's how I learned a bunch of like what had become of the site. I think Drone was a mod too.
Drone I didn't mind as much.
Yeah, I just hated him because
He hung out with Zero?
No, because I took one step into the fucking Stick comic brawl and then Drone wouldn't leave me alone.
Artist elitism. That's what they both suffered from.
Oh god, yeah. Do you remember when the Stick comic brawl rebooted and it was I don't think it rebooted. I think it was just an older one or something. Yeah. Fuck, I don't remember. All the timelines are all screwed up in my head. But one of the comic somethings, Zero and everyone went fucking crazy. It was the one where the clone guy. Oh fuck, I don't know. Maybe
I kind of stepped out of both of them, so.
Yeah, it was kind of the only thing I had. Like I was in the SIG and everything, so I kind of stuck around. I still have my files where I drew the stuff. I go through it every now and then. It's pretty nostalgic. I had no idea what I was doing with like actually drawing the comic panels. So. Like,
wait, are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I've been recording for a short while, and I've just been talking about this stuff.
Okay.
I just want to take a little segment to talk about. Let's talk about WRHG because that was big. That was our I know you and Kizu had the goddesses and the Tumblr blog and all of that. Before you actually that was before you actually did WRHG, right?
Yeah. Well, I never really did WRHG. Like, I made one, and I never posted it, and I never really got into it because
Shadow was really the only one who did it, and he went fucking crazy with it.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
But do you remember the WRHG forums with the story forums?
That I remember, yeah.
There was this one that I never got to join, but I loved it so much. I read it front to back, 113 pages. It was like something about a clock tower or something.
That was, yeah.
It was so good. Like, that's... God. I even almost started my own, like, with the inspiration from that. I think I still have the notepad where it's written somewhere.
A lot of the stuff that I do now is like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, RP sites became, like, really big RP story threads instead of just, like, I've never really run into anything like WRHG where it's non-canonized single battle stories. Like, that was unique.
Yeah, that's hard to pull off on a forum.
Yeah, I mean, just like the battles and things. Nobody really, WRHG, Fluid Anims and Sick Page were the only places I ever have run into that were like that had a theme of competitiveness, of winning but not winning the whole thing, just and endless amounts of small victories just to try to become a legend like Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha's still fighting people. I saw on Hyun's Dojo they upload another Alpha battle. He's still doing it. He's probably like 27
insane.
or 31.
I don't know if he's that old.
Yeah, but man. So how about some best and worst users, not mods or admins, but like have you ever seen a user take down a site from the inside out or anything like that? Like just been more powerful than admins, like because some admins are, as I said, young and don't really step in to fix things and kind of think they'll fix themselves. Have you ever seen like legitimate psychopathic, like abusing a mod so that you can take down an entire site even though you're just a user?
Not really. I've seen people try, but I haven't seen anyone succeed. There's, people are a lot less edgy and clever than they,
Than the characters.
yeah, well, than they think they are.
Yeah. What about things for new members that are, like, I don't have a lot of viewers on this thing, but if people saw this and wanted to join RP sites and try it out, who aren't necessarily, maybe they write a bit, but aren't necessarily RP people, like they don't have the mindset that we've had for 7 years, what would be some things you would tell them to, you'd encourage in them, and some things you'd discourage in them?
First off, what I would encourage, like more than anything, is that when you join a site, when you do eventually join a site, read all of the rules, all of the lore, all of the mechanics. I have made the mistake of not doing that twice now, and it really cost me. And, read a few threads too. See how people write, see what the kind of theme is and what people are trying to go for. And, try to get a feel for everything. Like on any site.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, Sickpage was not my first thread, my first forum. Fluid Anims, they weren't my first forums. My first forums were, my first forum was on this forum site for a Flash game called Antbuster, which I found on, addictinggames.com or something stupid. I loved the game so much, I would just play it, it was the first game that I would play for, 4 hours, and then I'd lose a game. And a tower defense kind of thing. And I went to the forum, and it was you could submit your high score under the name of a group, and then they had top 10 groups, and usually they were countries or something. But I joined this group called No Cheats, and through a collaborative effort, we were able to get to the top #1 place, against all these people who were cheating, got 66666 scores and stuff from China and Korea. It was fun. We'd run different different windows of the game in 4 different windows to try to up our score for the day. But after that, I went to Bungie.net, where I saw a few RP things there, but usually a lot of them were kind of cringy and stupid. But Bungie.net for the Halo forums, I made a clan, I got into clan politics and things. It was just this whole different world. And as soon as that all died down and Halo Reach came out and Halo 4 came out and clans died, I got into animation and I found the new forums of Fluid Anims and Stickpage. And I kind of forgot everything I learned on Bungie. And I just tried to post a bunch of stuff, and it didn't work out for me. And I kind of got a message from someone in one of my threads that said, stop posting and just lurk more. Which is just always the best advice you could ever give to someone on the internet. Lurk more. LURKMOAR. Because it's imagine if you could study for something, and a lot of people have studied for something that doesn't really help them. Imagine if there's one dedicated form of study that would always help you, no matter when you did it or for how long. Lurking always helps you. It's just looking around, maybe posting in the the off-topic chat thread that's 5,000 pages long or something, but just reading the entire site for a few days will always help you.
Yeah.
And then you come in and you don't seem that newbie, because you don't do as much newbie things, because you wait there for maybe 4 days and you see 10 people come in and do a bunch of newbie things, and then when you come in, you're not, you've seen it before. You're not a noob as much.
Yeah. And another thing, most of the forums, the DRP forums that I've been to, at least, are either on Pro Boards or JSync, and almost all of them have a chat box at the top or bottom of the page. Like, if you're new, like if it's your first day there, just go ahead and hop in and introduce yourself, talk to people. Like, the mods will always answer questions, like on good sites anyway, and just, see what the people are like, see if you like the community before you join.
Are there any sites that are still running that are just traps? Just horrible admins or moderators or something, or that they just ruin people's days that are still running?
The timetables one that I talked about earlier, I don't think it's still running, but I know it's coming back.
Oof.
Just, it's a JSync forum. It's run by most of the mods are okay, but the lead admin is a terrible person that thinks he can do everything better than everyone else. So,
have you ever left a community and that community dies, and then seen a troublemaker from that place come on to another place? Like, I know I asked if people were psychotic, and you said no, but does anyone like come back under a different name or try to pull the same tricks?
I haven't really seen it. I've heard about one person that supposedly caused drama on another site, and she's on 2 of the sites that I'm on right now, but I haven't seen her try to do anything. She seems okay. Yeah. I don't want to say her name because I don't know. I don't want to take that chance. So.
Well, from all the things that you've learned from going to different RP sites and being on Fluid Anims and all of that stuff for 5-6 years, what are some staple things that you're going to have when you make your RP site that you think that every RP site should have? Like, what are your moral things that you're going to base your site off of?
I'm gonna try to be pretty hands-off with like main threads and character creation. Like, I'm gonna give everyone the bare minimum of what they need to get started. I'll answer questions and everything like that, but I don't want to limit people too much, because that's a lot of the times that's what shuts down new sites. People feel too limited in what they can do, and they don't like the layout, and that's.
A thought just came to me.
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch of users, or sometimes the admins, like on that site you showed me a while back, make different threads or something, and sometimes it's just one big thread and yada yada. Have you ever run to a place that has a dedicated set of threads for new members, veteran members, and admins that like sections it all off?
Not really.
So it's always really, because I would think that admins would like make their own kind of thread so that they can enjoy the site without, as you said, interfering with newcomers' tastes and things.
Yeah.
There's not like an advanced thread and a beginner's thread?
Not really. But most of the sites that I've been on are pretty new. Like, I tend to join sites that have. Yeah.
That's kind of.
So I'm sure.
Go ahead.
I'm sure that'll change as time goes on, but right now it's pretty new, so I don't think I'm going to see any of that anytime soon. But
So would you say that sites shutting off rapidly is still a very prevalent thing, and that you shouldn't get too attached to a site? Because sites go down in a matter of days, just like, and sites only stay up so long. I
would say don't get too attached to the site, don't get too attached to your character, but you want to build friendships in the community, because that community, those are the people that are going to follow you to new sites. Those are the people that are going to adjust to other things and try experiment with other things with you, those are going to be your friends. Those are going to be the people that help you on your sites.
Where'd you meet the people that are helping you on your site?
Most of them I met on Lasting Memories, actually. The first site that I was on.
Ooh. How long ago was that again?
Like a year and a half.
Right. So, I guess you really stayed with the old group of people a lot longer, because, I mean, you've had characters for, as I said, at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Very well-written, in-depth characters that you shared with Kizu. But you didn't go onto an RP, a dedicated small RP site after having them for 3 years?
Not really.
Stickpage and Fluidam's kind of just like... Well, I mean, and of course our IRC chat.
Yeah.
So, do you know any sites that have IRC built into them, or does everyone kind of try to forget that IRC exists?
I haven't really seen any sites use IRC. Most of them just use the plug-in chat box.
Yeah.
So, which works pretty well.
Yeah. IRC, God. Basically, what happened was, this site that we always talk about, Stickpage, it had an IRC site, which was like, imagine a chat box that was permanent and had people popping in and out of it all the time. Oh god, like AC. Can you hear that thing?
Sort of.
Oh,
it's not too loud.
But the idea was that you had the main site, the main chat room that you could go into, and you'd have hundreds of people. But you could type commands like /join pound random room 47, and you'd create a room. You could type /join any name that isn't already a used room and just have a room to yourself, and they could register it and all this stuff. And you could /nick, which would change your name to anything that's not already used on the server. So we could just, because I had this obsession with logging our chats, and that turned out being a great thing that we could always go back and read 98% of all of our RPs that I was in, at least, and some that I wasn't. But what happened is we would change our names to our characters, and that way it wouldn't be like... It was hard for some people who we introduced to IRC to break away from writing like it's a book with blank says this in quotes and yada yada, to actually saying it as if you're saying it from the person's perspective. So in an RP thread, you might say, this person thought of this, and then blurted out, how could you do this? End quote. If you were an IRC, though, it's all in the first person, so it's /me shouts. It says /me shouts, and then, it says your name shouts, and then you say, how can you do this? Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, asterisk or something. And basically, instead of using long literary explanations for our attitudes and things, we would just use anything on our keyboard to try to emphasize what we're saying. Some people had what I did was when I typed something in asterisks, it was a whispering voice, or in some things, and in some cases, I would use brackets for thoughts. No, I used brackets for out of context thought, and I used parentheses for thoughts. It's just awesomely creative, and the idea that you can go on pretty much any server and just hide away in your corner and nobody will ever find you if you know the right commands to private it. I will always love IRC for that. It's just awesome. Because it cuts out all the blah of, writing in the third person. But that's just me.
I prefer third person.
Yeah. God. What do you think Shadow's doing?
Still going to college.
Yeah, he probably only has like a year or two left.
Yeah. Probably.
Our group was Shen and I have another name, Pat the ODST, still 2 T's, and our friend Kizu, and our friend Shadow Kirby, who was by far the oldest of our group, and by far the most unique of our group. Well, I don't know. I guess. Well, yeah. And Shadow, I'm not saying he was the best writer of the group. I'm just saying that he was the most
Avid.
willing to kind of actually RP. I don't know. Most of the people in our group didn't actually roleplay. We just had a thing called RP. And a lot of people who go to RP sites can understand this. Not everyone roleplays, but everyone RPs. And from how I kind of wrote it, it's, in IRC at least, it's a puppeteering, where it's your character is sitting right next to you at the computer, and here's a situation, and you ask them, what would you do in this situation? They say they would do this, and then you type, this person does this, and says this, and this, and this, and this, all in the first person. But you're not actually pretending to be the character. You're just getting in the mindset of the character to say what they would do. Shadow, he roleplayed. And you could tell because we would always have, hashtag roleplay chat and hashtag roleplay. Pat's chat and Pat RP. And what would happen is that we would always be talking out in the out of context chat thread, and then we'd be, RPing in the RP thread. And when Shadow sometimes would get a little caught up in his character, we would try to type in the chat thread, hey, Shen, could you slow down? I don't want my character to die. You're kind of going apeshit here. And then he would type back in, some weird, incomprehensive speak of just oh god, he's actually in the character right now, and this is kind of terrifying. I mean, do you remember the fight in the graveyard with Hayes and his Scarecrow character?
I think so.
That fight was one of the best fights I've ever done because it wasn't choreographed. It was fighting for Hayes' life, because that thing he had was just going apeshit. And then that went right into the city, and that arc was amazing. One of our first big arcs. Yeah.
The city was fun. I hate most of the characters that I made during the arc.
You made, some of your most important characters for a year there, though. Sierra, Abraxas.
I still use Abraxas.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
well,
ever since he died in the canon, I kind of didn't hear anything about him.
Yeah, well, he's right now he's a deity. He's going to be the time elemental in this new thing that I'm making. Well, what else would he be? I did actually consider making him the undead elemental, but
yeah,
I had a better idea for that.
Oh God, I just remembered. Remember when I first remembered, or I first realized, Talitha. Talitha.
Yeah.
Her whole thing with her brother and the necromancer, and with your characters and Patchwork and fuck and
I miss Patchwork.
Patchwork was fucking hilarious. The whole circus arc was amazing. You deciding to make Sierra a circus person was so good.
Yeah.
It's just that it was all just too depressing to have too much fun with it.
I'm probably going to use some of the people from the circus, actually.
Yeah. Eva was fun.
Evangeline, Marceline, Adrienne, Roselle, and
Roselle
Camille.
was fun. Camille was crazy. Who had the mask?
Adrienne.
Adrienne was amazing.
I wish I could have done more with her.
Yeah.
I wish I could have done more with Roselle, actually.
Yeah, but we did get that one RP with Carrie, though, on the mountain.
Yeah,
and I did use her to... we never really got to have her RP with Phoenix, but I did manage to get something off there because basically what I wrote was that Roselle kind of was who taught Kenai and Phoenix how to do the whole Fire Phoenix thing, where using the kinetic energy of basically his AI-esque internal nature entity named Kenai, who had control of kinetic energy, and Phoenix's flamethrower gun, the machine pistol, could actually give him like a flying Firebird-esque like batshit crazy pyromancer mode, and all that was kind of taught by Roselle, who Kenai accelerated the learning process with. By the way, in the post game of where I kind of wrapped up everything and made a kind of like end game kind of setting for my story, I turned a lot of the nature entities into humans, and Kenai was one of the most satisfying transitions because he went from that AI-esque, really not much of a personality, tiny little person to an actual like dude, and he was awesome. I also turned Gimme, or Jimmy, however you thought to pronounce it. I've never actually said her name to you. The heat and cold twin character, turned them into one adult character, and they're fun. They're awesome. Changing Pepsi was fun. Fucking Kizzy, always calling her Pepsi. Yeah, I still have everything. If you ever like lose those files, I still have them all.
I think I have most of them.
Yeah, but every once in a while you still ask me for some, and I'm always ready to give them to you if I have them.
Yeah.
Usually do. But yeah, like even if anyone who's young is listening to this and is kind of getting to RP and they're a young teenager or preteen or like 13, 14, 15-ish, you're going to have some stupid ideas that you'll regret later in life, but you should still do them, because even in the like stupidest NSFW stuff that we've done, we've got an amazing plot out of it that have just changed characters in the best ways and stuff. Like, would you second that?
Yeah.
Fucking Sierra, batshit crazy, scared the piss out of me.
I reused some of Sierra's design in a character that I have right now, actually, on one of the sites.
What's that character's name?
Scarlet. She's a warrior. She's got the same pain thing that Sierra did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Clockwork Girls, or the mechanical girls.
The machine girls.
Machine Girls. There he is. You keep any of them
Jace.
or anything?
What?
Jace. Jace was so good. The gender
Jace.
thing was so funny.
Yeah, I remember
Gender is
Jace,
first RP
Angel, and
was
Livewire.
Livewire was very important to me, because Livewire was what got Caitlyn out of the house and started the whole arc with Carrie trying to find her. That was hugely important. And at the same time, you made that guy who was like the opposite of Seth. You made him and his army, and you made Brendan or something with the crazy animalistic, like the tail and everything. And in that fight scene, I made Hayes's like actual like pure darkness ball thing. Like, that was an amazing fight.
I keep the machine girls. Oh, I don't think I ever told you there was supposed to be, well, at one point there was a fourth one.
Okay.
I don't think I ever gave her power. She's dead, but she was Abraxas's wife. She was Sierra's mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Some kind of like reanimated mechanical something or other?
I don't think I brought her back. I think that was just part of the backstory.
Right. But yeah, you'll run it if you go onto an RP site, find a community. You'll run into people who are optimistic like me, people who are pessimistic like Shadow Kirby, and people who are realistic like Kizu, and people who are just do what comes natural like you. I mean, I wouldn't consider you pessimistic. I would just consider you that's you don't go out of your way to.
I just go with things.
Yeah.
I just go with things. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's awesome. Let's have this last segment be about the more freaky, dire situations of when characters become a little more than just characters. I think now's a good time to ask you if you remember or when you first started the first part of the Dream arc with all that whole new wave of characters and everything.
Oh, the Dreamscape stuff?
Yeah, and you had...
that was fun.
And you had, what? No, I'm not at my home right now. I'm on my phone. And I was like, it's the characters talking on your computer, dude. And you would, like, confront them and everything. And so what was going on there? I think now is a good time to tell me what was actually going on with whatever her name was.
That was Camille. That was revamped Camille. That was Abyss. I remember that now. No, actually, that was... I used Abyss, Crossfire, and I think Swift Stride for that.
Yeah, Swift Stride was the... Swift Stride came around near the end, and I just kind of tried to keep her calm while I tried to get you to be like, hey, Swift Stride got out. Help me calm Holly down.
That was... like, that whole thing...
Yeah.
Was kind of just me experimenting with a new way to get into character. Like, that was...
Yeah.
When, like, I tried to stop making them just puppets and tried to get, like, into a mindset where, like, I could properly write for them.
And you just had to do that during the arc with the most... Not the most fucked up, but the most scary and sadistic characters up to that point.
Yeah,
in terms of power hungry that I knew of. I mean, just, I mean, I'm glad that I took it seriously, as if either you were having a schizophrenic situation or if someone was on your computer at home. Like, I'm glad that I still was in character for all that. But dude, that freaked me the fuck out back then.
Yeah. It was fun to do.
I bet it was fun to watch me freak out.
No, that wasn't the fun part.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, like with the BIOS that you wrote up.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was fun to read.
That was like, I did that at like 2 a.m.
It fit. Best time to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
For like, yeah.
Yeah.
Something about an apple? I remember, she told me to, whenever I saw you, to tell you something. It was something about an apple. And then when I told you, you were like, God damn it, it's her. Blah, 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 blah. And all that. But that was fun. When you confronted them, like, that, I've never seen someone get into character like that. That's amazing. So, everyone listening, you're gonna run to people who have some pretty interesting ways to get into characters, and it's all okay, most likely. I mean, odds are you're not gonna run into someone with a serious case of MPD. They hang out in different parts of the internet, I'll tell you that. I've run into them, and they're not on RP sites, they're in different places. But yeah, like, characters are crazy and fun and can get in your head, and it's awesome. Yeah. You're not going to see a lot of that in, like, places like that one place you showed me where people don't even have usernames, they're just the characters. But on IRC, where, you can change your name at any time, it can get a bit crazy. You'll sign on and you'll see like someone with a dash next to their name. And they're like, "Hey, what the fuck? My name's taken," and then see someone pretending to be them. God, hilarious stuff. Back in the clan days, back in Halo and all that, I once went to spy on an elite elite clan's chat thread, and it didn't have any security, so I signed on as one of the members there and got information from them. Burr, burr, burr. Oh no, that was on the 251st. That was where I did that. Oh god, that was fun times. Clan politics. Yeah, any last stories that you want to talk about? Because this is the last segment of it. Oh, sure, totally.
Recording.
Now we are. I'm gonna eat this muffin. And you're gonna talk about your website.
All right. Joy, fun. Okay, so I've been in the works.
/ me offers Shen a cupcake or muffin.
No. No. All right. So, god damn it. I've had this world in the works for about 5-6 months now. I started back in, I think. Wait, it's been longer than 5 or 6 months. I started back in like October, November, or something like that. And it's been this idea that I've been messing around with since I abandoned a lot of the old stuff that I was working on. And, well, as time went on, I kind of just, with my old worlds, I kept building and building and building and building more and more, and they just got out of hand. The worlds just got ridiculous, the characters.
Some days you would just make 20 characters in a day, like the house.
Yeah, that stuff like that, yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I didn't want to do stuff like that anymore. I wanted to have a solid, decent world with decent characters and like, good lore. I didn't want to make it ridiculous, like this million-year-long timeline with 80 characters, like freaking
80.
Talos was.
80 is not close to what you used to have.
It's like 237. I did a count.
Yep.
But yeah, I didn't want to do that anymore. So I scrapped everything and I started on a new world. And that's what I want to use this site for. Like, I wanted to do something with the world that would make it interactive. I didn't want it to be a book. I didn't want it to be a comic or anything like that. I wanted people to enjoy it more in depth. So I decided to turn it into a RP site. Well, I guess I'll explain the premise a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, my site revolves around, well, the lore anyway, revolves around two key aspects of the world. First is the people that populate the world. Normally, they're basically, all of them are magic users. Like, I explained this to you, like, the whole stuff with the grimoires and the cards and everything.
Right.
Like, they're just pretty basic magic users. And I don't really know how to explain it better than that. And the secondary part is familiars. When each person who can use magic comes of age, a familiar appears before them. The familiar is a carbon copy of them. They don't speak. They don't really do anything other than follow the commands of their mage, and they're built expressly for the purpose of fighting, basically.
Right.
And when a mage dies, their familiar will live on, because the familiars are immortal. They heal and they can't die. But when a mage dies, a familiar will take on a personality, and they will gain the ability to speak. Usually it'll be a personality similar to the mage. Usually, sometimes it's not. But it's gonna be fun. Like,
Wouldn't that mean that the majority of the population would be familiars?
Yeah. Well, they'd be familiars with dead mages. Like usually, like 90% of familiars after their mage dies, they go into hiding. So
It's just the literal side of me that's just like, okay, think of how many people have died in the past 100 years in our
I know.
planet alone, and then think of an exact copy of all those still living, and then think all the way back forever. That's a lot of hiding people. Jesus.
It's a big planet.
Yeah, I guess.
And, well, these mages are... Actually, the community they live in is pretty small. Like, there isn't a lot of them.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not absolutely ridiculous.
Explain that. Yeah. It's like, I think they're on one part of one continent.
Of a giant planet.
Yeah.
It's like when you are naive and you play one Elder Scrolls game and you think that's the entire map.
But yeah, the elemental types and all that good stuff.
Do you still have the type effectiveness chart?
I'm not going to use that, actually. I scrapped a lot of those element types. It was like 26. I think I narrowed it down to 12. Right. I don't want things to be too complicated.
Yeah, you had a bunch of fun stuff like nuclear and...
I still have nuclear.
Oh, really? That's funny.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, what was that? What was that thing that Cassandra had with her sword?
Void?
Was it Void?
Yeah, it was Void.
Yeah, Void. Do you still have that?
I'm going to use that, yeah, but it's going to involve different stuff. Like Cassandra was special.
Right. So more like the guards who could like teleport.
Yeah, it's gonna be like teleporting, making vortexes, stuff like that. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like,
so
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Huh? What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask, what would people expect of their character to, what kind of role their character to fit into, when they arrive? What would they expect to do?
Well, the primary premise of the site is that there's this mage called an inverse mage, and you can probably guess what an inverse mage does. And they were born every few hundred years, and their birth would mark some sort of significant event in history, like usually some sort of discovery or some sort of technological advancement and stuff like that. And the second to last one to be born was born quite a while ago. And that particular mage was a prophet, and she had this vision of the next inverse mage, and that they would bring just ruin upon the world. Like, following their birth, the world would pretty much be destroyed. And so 10,000 years later, the inverse mage is born. So
big gap.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Obviously, that's not the finalized thing, but that's what I have.
So this group of RPers would be of the generation of that person?
Yes.
So the apocalypse that accompanies them hasn't rode in yet. And do people know exactly who the reverse mage is, or is it like trying to, the whole world is against mages for a while, trying to find out who it is?
It's sort of both. Like,
because that'd be really interesting if everyone was wondering if they were it. Kind of a fun way to make everyone special, but nobody special.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's pretty cool. Like, inverse mages, like, every other mage is born with, like, a sign on their hand that denotes what element they're most closely aligned to. And usually, inverse mages don't have that sign from birth. They gain that sign at a later time in life. Like, it just kind of shows up one day after they experience something traumatic or life changing. So like the inverse mage won't know they're the inverse mage until they're supposed to know they're the inverse mage.
But if you have a mark, you're not an inverse mage.
Well, no, you can have like up to 3 marks, and some
Oh,
people
okay.
have less than 3. So
Okay, got it.
yeah, sorry, I should explain things.
It's an alpha.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you have
but I'm
any?
pretty proud of it.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like, it's a perfect balance of simplicity and complexity.
Yeah.
Any main like NPCs that everyone will know of that you think you want to like talk about?
Well, none of the NPCs that I really have uh, will be important right from the beginning. There are two. There are two that I do want to talk about. There's a legend, like way old legend of this woman that, sorry. There's a legend of this woman that lives in the forest, like deep in the forest, um, in a place called Nevermore. Yeah,
Hey!
I think I've told you about this, like in a
Oh God!
different context.
Like, well, I mean, we've talked about Nevermore a ton. Like, Caitlin was gonna walk through Nevermore, or not Caitlin, Grace, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
Never got to do it.
yeah.
I was so hyped about Nevermore, and then we're like, oh, we're gonna delay Nevermore because I moved it to a different place, and yeah.
I
I'm
didn't
glad
move it too
Nevermore is
far.
back, so I can finally
Yeah.
see it.
Well, it's basically just this big old dense forest where like no sunlight comes through the trees, like practically no sunlight.
We always have at least one big forest.
I have like 4. It's okay. But yeah, there's the legend of this woman that lives in the forest, and supposedly she's this very old, very wise, very powerful mage. Um, and like the legends range as to what she does. Like some legends just say she's kind of malicious. She'll play pranks on you if you enter the forest and get lost. And some say that she will just like straight up kidnap you and boil you alive and eat you. And none of them are true, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about her. But she's this really old mage, and she's gonna be plot relevant at some point because she is an inverse mage. She was actually
Ooh.
the inverse mage that prophesied the coming of the new inverse mage. And oh yeah, there's one more thing that I should mention. Familiars, like after their mage dies, they can be rebound to another mage. Like
Oh.
after their birth mage dies, like they gain like incredible powers and along with that personality stuff. Like familiars can really only use their weapon before their mage dies, but after that they can use like they can infuse their weapon with elemental
Infusion!
properties. Yeah,
Yay!
and like they gain like super strength and super speed and all that stuff, and like they're usually at the front lines in a fight. They can be rebound to a new mage if their mage is dead, and that is what this witch girl has. She has a rebound familiar, and this rebound familiar is also legendary. Like she,
So do they lose their personality when they get rebounded?
no, they keep their personality.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's like some Avatar shit.
Yeah, it's cool. But
So fun.
yeah. This other familiar, she's very very old. Like she saw the birth of modern civilization. That's how old she is, and she like familiars are usually measured in strength by the number of other familiars they've been able to take down. Like usually, like obviously familiars are immortal and like they don't stay down, but like
A night
usually
system.
yeah, like it sort of yeah. Like
The whole
I'm
jousting
trying
thing
to
with like if if you defeat another knight, you go up in rank.
Sort of. Like, it's a number, but it's like the higher the number, the better you are. Like, usually.
Yeah.
Like, because usually familiars are pretty, like, close in strength. Like, they'll get stronger as they defeat other familiars, but most of them are pretty close in strength. That's why it's pretty significant when they're able to defeat other familiars. So, like, usually they'll have, like, a rank from 10 to 20. Some of them have been as high as 30. But the Witch's familiar has a rank of 85,000.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like, she's really old. And she looks like, I want to say 22. I don't remember how old I made it look. Yeah. 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 That's Katrina. That was Divergence.
Right.
Yeah. And the Witch, that's Iniko.
I knew it. I knew it'd be Iniko. Awesome.
Yeah. And she's a special kind of mage. I won't get into that right now.
At first, I thought you were going to say that she was, like, that she was the prophesized mage's familiar, but that she's actually the prophesized mage. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna use Nia again.
Yay!
I'm not sure just yet. I know if I do, she's gonna be a wind mage.
Didn't you say that she was transgender or something?
Yeah, she's transgender.
Yeah, transgender. Right.
Biologically, she's male. Yeah.
Right. Which
I think fits her
awesome.
She's a very pretty person, though. She's very confident in who she is, and I think that's important. Oh, I am going to be using a lot of the other characters that I have. I'm going to be using Sylphie, Adelinda, Arashi, Kyo, Kasumi, and another guy that I don't think I ever told you about, Orazio. Do you remember Kensei and Michael?
Yes.
Orazio is their dad.
Right. Michael was... One of them had the blood girl, right?
That was Kensei.
Yes.
Michael was the one that used a bunch of elemental stuff.
Right.
I don't think I ever used him more than once.
Yeah. That was Jeremy, because I remember the weird scene with the girl. That almost got freaky.
Nara. Yeah, that was Nara. I want to use her again, too. I don't know yet. Because they do a blood element.
So,
sort of.
Because I have to ask the crazy questions.
Yes.
Because if you have a kid who comes of age and everything, and they get an older familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this would have to be extreme circumstances, but have there ever been any situations where they either pretend or whatever with like switching roles, like in public, like tribal?
It happens.
People think that one's the other.
It happens. It's hard to do though because the familiars don't speak.
Yeah. So. First off, you'd have to convince people that your familiar is a passed on familiar, and then you'd have to convince people that, like, et cetera, et cetera. But that would be so like it'd be easier to think of a familiar that's just like really fucked up and old and just totally ruins their mage and pretends that the mage is the familiar, like fucks them up so that they don't talk, and it's like, no, I'm the mage, this is my familiar, and it's just some poor 15-year-old kid that's just like been possessed. Jesus Christ.
I don't really know. I guess it's possible. I don't think it's very common, though.
Oh,
it's like
no,
that's really rare circumstance.
So I meant to ask this earlier when you said seeing the dawn of modern civilization. What kind of setting can people see in terms of technology and things?
Well, it is technically a post-apocalyptic world. So
and pre-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic, pre-apocalyptic, yay. But yeah, there's actually some stuff I reused from Telos, the Great War, the Dreadnoughts, all that stuff.
Oh no, the dreadnoughts. Fuck.
Yeah, you can find. Well, none of them work. They're all
Okay,
in
good.
ruins. Like,
Well, I mean that
used
could
Zika too.
be the apocalypse, that they all come back. Some kind of mechomancer.
Yeah. Oh, you just gave me a great idea.
Spoilers.
You remember Mechanoliths?
Yes, and of course I do. We almost made Taylor a queen of them, or servant.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was gonna go.
It could have gone either way, honestly. But I might reuse that. That might be the apocalypse.
And that's
the
like,
emergence of Mechanoliths.
if you could have that world that you had exist, then that means that this apocalypse wouldn't just be a wipe the slate clean. Like, there'd still be resistance and there'd still be wars and stuff. Oh, and then you could bring back all your war heroes and the whole royal family. Like, all those people are war heroes from the Mechanoliths and stuff. You could bring them back.
I guess I could. I may just use the Mechanoliths though.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of the characters, a lot of them serve other roles. Like, I'm reusing them for other roles. Like, Sylphie, it would be pretty significant, and Nymphy would too. But they're elementals right now. I'm planning on using them for elementals.
For a second, I just realized who you were talking about, because I could have sworn you were saying Sophie, and then you said Nymphy, and I'm like, oh, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce their names.
Oh, like, the best part is, if you ever get Skyped and talk with any of your friends from these sites, you'll have been friends for like years, maybe months, probably, and you'll have all these characters. You'll have a character that you see their name 50 times a day, and then you get on Skype and you're like, yeah, so I saw what you did with Arcos the other day, and they'll be like, what the fuck? Their name's Arsos. And then you just like, you've been talking forever, but you never knew how they pronounced the name.
Yeah,
That's so much fun.
Yeah. I want to use Hitomi so bad though.
Yeah, as I said, like, her whole family with the Mechanolith era. Like, if you were to New Game Plus your world, you know, with it, when the apocalypse comes, would it be immediately following or after like 20 years of revolution?
It would.
After the civilization has already crumbled and it's just rebels and tents.
It would be a while after.
And then any really good users who have maybe become mods after the whole first arc could come back as familiars.
Yeah. Well, there is one thing I mentioned. If you make a character that is a mage and you want to kill off that character, you are 100% allowed to use that character's familiar for a new character. Like, you don't even have to change your face claim or anything. You just have to change the moveset and you're good to go.
And they would RP as not a mage with that familiar, but that familiar?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
This sounds amazing. I'm totally hyped. But unfortunately, I think we're going to have to cut this off.
That's fine. Yeah.
So, the name of this site, do you have it yet, or are you still working on that?
It's still in the works, actually. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Names are hard.
Yeah. Do you have a Twitter or anything, or are you just going to stay under wraps?
I'll stay under wraps for websites and stuff, but those of you who want to talk to me about this and are on like some other sites, you might know me by the name Minty. And if you do happen to know me, you can feel free to ask me more questions about it.
And I'll relay any questions towards him.
Right.
God,
because you have my Tumblr.
Yep. And your Skype and your number and yeah. So yeah, here's to RP sites and their infamy and their famity. Infamy.
Yes.
There's not a famous version of infamy. There's not
fame.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, fem me ye. Oh wait, just
Yeah.
fame me, fame. Shit.
It's all right. I write 2 hours a day for every day, so it's okay. I
You
know
are one hell
words.
of a writer.
I wish I could write for more than 2 hours.
What?
2 hours is like maybe 2 posts. So I wish I could do more. Dude, posts are like 2, 3 paragraphs long.
Yeah.
All of that in character is very difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, there are RP sets that are totally different. Like, I might have my friend Pat on here to talk about a totally different side of RP sites, which is he RPs in real time on Facebook, which is like
Oh,
sentences.
jeez.
Kind of imagine IRC, but like on your like watch, on your arm, like buzzing you every 2 minutes throughout the day. Like he slept over, and I've just been like, it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, you still up, Pat? And he's like, yeah, I got in a fight. He's just like tapping away at his phone furiously. It's like, jeez. He's on 4 different RPs, and he's just constantly on them. It's ridiculous.
Jeez.
I have to get him on for a talk about RP sites.
Yeah. Yeah.
He uses Facebook. So, yeah, Shen, and anyone who's watching, and all those people that you mentioned, and all those sites that you mentioned, keep doing what you're doing, and don't go away too fast, people. I don't know. I was trying to make something heartfelt. That was kind of shit, though. RP is fun. Everyone has their own styles. And most importantly, lurk more. Lurk.
Yeah.
Always. Goodbye, everybody! This has been ProgressCast, and with Shen. I hope we all join these sites. Now, Shen, you're gonna have to give me a list of all these fucking links.
All right.